stewards meeting. That would be also nice. I don't know. We haven't had the chance to talk in a while.
First of all,
Welcome.
nice I missed last week. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about that. Like my finals
no
are
worries.
very very
Happens.
busy these days. But after 2 days,
Oh, you got finals.
yeah,
Okay.
after 2 days, I will be freed from academia. So we work even more enthusiastically.
To
Yeah.
do more
So
research here.
exactly. Like I wanna like do this research groundwork very properly and
Mhm.
very structurally. So I will
Cool.
invest more time.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
regarding Stewart's call, like actually we had a kind of a warning from Zepti, and I did a cool
Yeah.
meme about it. Check it out on the meme channel. Like he said, we haven't spent our library funds, and I explained like we are still discovering what will be the
Mm.
how we are spending our money in Omega. So it's kind of a research thing. So we are
Hmm.
experimenting it. That's why. But I just wanted to say that there was some discontent about it. Like this, like they were curious. You got the funds, but why are you not spending it? So
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to like update this. And other than that, I think
Yeah.
there's no specific questions and updates about Omega from Stewards. And
Okay. Did you get a chance to get access to the wiki that we can update the token engineering ethics side? Did you get
uh,
a chance on that?
I just texted them like now Stewart's call are on Tuesday, so I know today you asked me, so
Oh, okay. Sorry.
no,
Okay. Okay. So that's why. So if we get that, I think that will be fine.
yeah, I will do it.
Yeah, the token engineering Consilience library. We got the funds, and I love the saying. It's from street smart startups wisdom. You know, as soon as you take other people's money, their business model becomes your business model. Which just to say, we have to get into delivery mode. That I mean, I think many people, or I hope, like all of you knew as well. And what I see is that we have many initiatives going on, or many things that we would love to research and everything, but not enough time on everyone's energy budget, if you will. So I think it will come down to us mostly focusing on working on the token engineering Consilience library, finishing this first prototype that we have got funds for, and then also make the progress visible. So that's one thing. Progress is happening, but making it visible is always the issue, especially on the creative side, like that we need to get some of the work, some documentation of the work that has been happening with the NFT self-discovery games and all the ideas. So today I would really like to get that down on our board, so that next time Matt can just quickly show also what has been the progress.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Who else? Manu, would you like to share anything that you got on your mind, or also we have on the agenda today? I shared it in our chat. We have the
Yeah.
token engineering Consilience library. Yeah.
Yes. I think Mert's point. I would say that there wasn't discontent. There was concern, but not in a bad way. It was just curious concern about why
Mm-hmm.
hadn't we used salary funds, and I think that's a good segue into one of the first points on the agenda, which is the current version of the collective curation template. I have a couple of
Mm-hmm.
people that have expressed interest in curating content for a library, synthesizing a book or a
Yeah.
research paper and updating it and uploading it
Mm-hmm.
into our library. But I'm still, and this might be on my part, but I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like I don't know like how to go on about it. Like it's like what's the template? What template ought I share with them? Like how ought I frame the work that they will be doing, and also like the bounty or the incentive that they are expected to receive, and what
Yeah.
are like the milestones or the requirements that we ought to ask in exchange for that type of content.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, and we can talk about that. I know there's a link there, and I've seen that link before because I've already started.
Would
Uh,
you like to share the screen, and if you're in the Omega agenda, maybe also just go into
sure.
that,
Sure. I will
Manu?
share the entire screen because for some reason I cannot share the browser alone. But here it is. And the first point has a link to the collective curation template, which is what we have going on. I know I've gone through this with Nick and with Andrea as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just wanted like more clarity on this. I feel like it's an important topic, and we ought to. Um,
Yeah, let's go through this, and some of the people have shared it basically. And also there's some feedback for sure. I'm also getting into the collective curation template. So as you know, when we started, it was like let's have people curate. But the whole point of the library, or one important point of the library, is that it is transdisciplinary, right? So we wanted, and maybe that's a bit of a hurdle, but it should be two people, hence collective curation. Um, that's where also the whole connecting part comes in. But maybe that's something we can loosen a bit. I see that issue with people who have a lot on their plates. Like I reached out to Zargam, Sherman, Trent, and Simon, and I think getting them to work on this together is going to be hard. But getting any curation from any one of them, because they're literally the token engineering founding minds, would be great. Right, so maybe we can loosen that a bit up, and that's how I see it.
yeah, I
Do you
think
have? Mhm,
Yeah, I think if we make it easy enough for them to be engaged, uh,
mhm.
given that they are so in demand, because like you mentioned, they're pioneers. I think that would be like a good model to use for other people. That yeah, they're like we're all pretty busy with our schedules and whatnot. But I think starting with them, like making it just maybe just like a PDF or like a diagram or like just a couple points of like go through here,
The
this, do
Yeah,
that, and then we can
yeah.
use that
So
for
that's exactly like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the
yeah,
points that. But also, I mean, you reach out to people and you actually explain it to them, and especially with these first few people. I just realized also it would be actually great to have video with them. So maybe that's going to be something else I'll be trying out. I don't know. I would like to hear from others who shared this template and what was the feedback. Like, what prevents people from starting. And if you move further, I think also it is just important that we first get the initial content that is transdisciplinary, meaning really this is something that the people picked up from one domain, but it's a piece that got them connected, or that in itself is actually reaching out to many of the other fields, like something that is in philosophy, law, ethics, actually also on the computational side, or cybernetics is typically operations, research, management, science, etc. So if you jump down to Consilience space for curation, that is basically the frame that we have.
You let me know if it's it over here or over
No,
here.
a bit further down.
Right here.
If you have, further down.
Right
Yes, the Consilience space for curation. It was, I think, David, one of the newcomers actually, who provided this. And basically it helps, and there is also an example underneath that he also provided, basically to help with the transdisciplinarity aspect, that you really say, okay, this is something that helped me to make sense of, I had an aha moment reading this. And this is how I see it applies to token engineering.
Okay.
And this is from the domain, let's say, of management science, but it relates to philosophy, ethics, political science, and psychology as well. So this is basically the matrix where you say, okay, mainly it comes from this domain, but it also relates to the others. So this matrix was really, really cool. And that's just, I think, one main way to show the transdisciplinarity of the curation.
Okay. Sure. I'll keep that in mind.
So just in case. And again, like from the example, I think one important part is you could have a typical abstract, right? But the more important part is also your anecdotal curation. That you really share why this piece was actually interesting, or how, when you encountered it in your journey to token engineering. These anecdotes or this anecdotal annotation will make the part where it is about connections, making connections quite different, and something that you don't have in other libraries, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear for me. Thanks, Sofista. I'll relay that information to the people who have expressed interest, and I'll apply it to myself as I'm creating something as well.
That's actually a great point, Manu. As Omega, we should definitely have a collective curation. Since we're in this space where it's a lot about self-realization, self-knowledge. As a token engineer, am I legitimate to? Do I know what I'm doing when we're designing incentives for people, for infrastructures that are going to be utility infrastructures of the digitalizing society of our era, right? So that is definitely something I would love for us to get started. We can have a channel in the Omega and really share our curations.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the PDF of the book that I'm working on to see. Given that it's pairs, maybe Mert. I worked with Mert before, and we're friends. Maybe he'd be interested, but I know that he's pretty busy right now. So, although let me say, Mert, that the future of token engineering supersedes your finals in terms of importance. But that's my personal
No,
opinion.
no, no, no.
Totally agreed. Like I was. Let me open my camera. I was this close to drop out, sister, and I
Don't.
was like, no, I'm in third and half year, so let's do the stuff. And actually, where like I don't want to take too much time, but where it comes, I am taking a course on immigration and CDs. Since the course was so bad that all the academic discourse is around same literature, they're citing same people all the time, creating a different like regime of truth around same literature. They're just
Mm,
doing like publishing things that they discuss without
yeah.
touching any other like literature. Actually, this was very related to what we are doing in Omega as like
Mm,
interdisciplinary work. So like, they are discussing immigration, not touching any economic stuff like identity. They're just discussing around cities. So this was so bad that actually inspires me to work on more interdisciplinary and interesting things. So it's good and bad. This quantity.
um, you know, just go through, be passerby. So, but no, it's really cool and great trust the evolutionary game of mind and society.
Yes,
Manu,
and I
literally,
was,
like
yeah.
these are the people here. They should be starting the curation for the library.
I kept thinking about something that would be universally valuable for
Mm,
all token engineers or aspiring token
mm,
engineers, people who want to. And I mean, since we're um, it might be because I romanticize the technology, but at the core, it's about trust and how
yeah.
blockchain enables to trust but verify. And so I feel that the emotion of trust is at the
Mm,
core of what we're doing and understanding it. I mean, if I go a little bit more in depth and into the
mhm,
actual like topics that are discussed, it goes into the paradox of trust, some
mm,
conceptual clarifications of what is trust, a theory of trust, and then it goes into like samples of like questionnaires that they did. I know that we did sort of like a qualitative investigation or research as well in
mm,
Omega, so it's sort of aligned in that. And then it did several experiments, cross cultural, and it
mm.
presents their findings. So like
Super cool.
overall, I thought it was just a great uh,
Mhm.
document to start curating. And yeah, I'll keep working on this, and I'll make sure
Definitely.
to relay the findings with the group.
Yeah. So I will just ping you all or watch out for the Omega Collective Curation thread. Okay, and let's just have this a copy of this curation template and just put first of all our curations um, and it's really mostly about, okay, how does this piece relate, how do you relate to it, and through your perspective, how does it all relate to token engineering, how did it help you to make sense, and this consilience space, meaning what other disciplines does it cover, right? So and kind of I have the same issue, Manu. Like, which one should I pick? And I
Yes.
even almost have an easier time to say, oh, Letty, you should have, or Manu, you should, really curate this for the library. And
Yeah,
then thinking, and
I've
the
uh,
ones,
I've done that with Mert. I've thrown like 5 books at him. Like, hey, you maybe create this because I don't have enough time to do it. You might already have like a couple, like 3 books
yeah.
that I want to. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yes, but the funny thing is that
Exactly, but
we are already doing
mhm,
that on
Yeah,
Discord. So we are just throwing
good.
out our things. I think it's a
Okay,
very
I
good
think
idea
those
to
are the
have this.
two. I think we covered the 2 points. We're halfway through. I don't know if we're ready to move forward or if some other people would like to comment on what we've discussed. Um,
Yeah, I was commenting because I feel like the
Five,
thread this channel.
4, 3, 2,
Yes,
1.
all the time.
Manu,
All the time.
Manu, hello. Can
Yeah,
you hear us?
yeah.
Okay. Can you hear Letty too? She's
Uh,
speaking.
oh, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
that
sorry.
happens sometimes. Ah,
Yes,
okay,
because if there are
interesting.
like two different voices or sounds at the same time, you cannot listen to the other person because you're speaking at the same time. Yes, I'm only
Go
saying that.
ahead, Letty.
Yeah, this idea of the thread and the channel, a thread for specifically the creations of Omega, I think it's like a very practical step because we are doing the creations. The thing is, like, I'm speaking for myself, it's like a little bit difficult to every time I'm on Discord and with the other screens open, and I have these wonderful links that appear on my screen because we are researching all these things, and then going to the Gmail doc is kind of difficult for me. So if
Yeah.
we have this thread and we just export all the links we have been just putting out in there, it's kind of like we have all our creations and we can just put our name and say, okay, if we are part of Tech Omega, we put our curator name in Tech Omega. And this could be like after for the publications minting in the whole architecture design, which is, I think, the most needed application right now to create, because I think this was kind of a chicken and egg problem. We wanted to do the creations, but we feel like we needed a new structure to do those and to have all the initiatives coming together, right? So if we have this specific thread, we just export maybe all the creations that are a little bit lost inside the main channel Omega, and we can put our creator names and Tech Omega. And if other people are from other, or if they share the names, it's fantastic too. But we have this specific name creator, and that's our collective curation that after in the app is going to come up in a mandala, and it's our curation. So because we are the contributors, and we come up with this whole curation. So it's like our map in the initiatives as well. So I see this can be connected with the creator name for after the architecture. And we can come up with this
Okay, cool.
and have people come in because I feel like the example is good, but if we don't have this, it's difficult for people to come in as well. And we can solve both
Yeah,
things.
exactly. Just having these examples and just another, yeah, I think we should have these threads. Maybe those threads could be also for others to come in and join. Let's see how that works out. So one insight is really we are trying our way. What is the most motivational, least resistant path of curation, and
Yes.
what so another feedback is that people come together and they're sharing this content in in the realm of their organizations. For example, we have this Refi bootcamp coming up, and for the bootcamp, we're doing reading lists, right? And it's a collective, a couple of LTF, the Unity Crypto, the company that I'm working with now, etc. They are part of it. So I believe those initiatives that are going on, that are also in Token Engineering Academy, once I'm sure they have already, right? We can reach out to them, and the incentive for them will be just to have their initiative mentioned. And I think that's a good thing, because also in the library we want to actually direct people to more learning resources or more other learning environments other than this library. So I think that is definitely a win-win for those communities, and those will be also the richest when it comes to curation. And maybe not so much the annotation part. That's what might be missing, that people in those if it's a boot camp or a learning track or a course, then obviously the curation has been done with that outcome in mind, and there is no personal anecdote or nothing, so that we would lose that quality a bit. But on the other hand, we gain basically a direction towards, hey, this is Refi Bootcamp, you can participate there, or this is Token Engineering Academy. You can participate in those courses, and these are the curations or reading lists, if you will.
Yes, because that was the original idea, to have all the programs for token engineers that were just practicing that in a curriculum format, so we can have as a beautiful curation, like this is reading list, and we just forward the newcomers also to those programs. That was the original idea too. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be a bit more library and less of a surprise, but it is useful, right? So I think definitely let's go with that as well, because it's these low-hanging fruits. Then what else? Like, who else had experience reaching out to people or organizations?
Yeah, like I talk with Curve. So actually, what you mentioned, Sebnem, was very related because Curve Labs team asked me, so what are we gaining it? So I was framing it as like you will be part of an ecosystem where the best of the best minds are part of. So it's kind of a reputable thing. I try to mention that to be able to create as a seed curators, and also you will mention like Curve Labs as a team is doing this, so it's part of that will be marketing of your team basically. So I think framing it that way will help. Like I think that caught their attention.
So, and the other thing is, I think for these organizations also, it's just cool to have a place in the library that says, I don't know, block science, Curve Labs. Some startups do that actually, that they have a common library of this is what we read, because reading the same books also helps in alignment, finding alignment. So these are the things how we could additionally if you will, incentivize. When it comes to token or monetary incentives, we have 15K, and there is a budget also that have been allocated for curations. Yeah, just if that is something that is needed, let's synchronize on that, but mostly for those whom I reach to, I don't think that hundreds or 1K or so will make a difference. It's really about more or less finding the time, and but if that gives visibility to their organizations or to the topic area that they care about, that's some sort of an intrinsic motivation that there is, that we can reach out to. So okay, I just want to ask one more time, because I think we need to organize the work or synchronize the work on Token Engineering Consilience Library. Additionally, it won't be enough, I think, to sync every other week through the working group calls. I just wanted to ask again, like, who are the ones who are directly contributing? Letty, Manu, Mert, you have spoken. Steph and Satori, you have also contributed and want to continue to contribute, right?
Yeah, of course.
Would that be okay if we meet Mondays afternoon? Afternoon in which time zone? I think Satori, it's your mornings and our evenings.
Yeah, that works for me.
So basically, go ahead.
Sorry, afternoon like 3-4 em to 4 p.m.
CET.
CET. So yeah, like, but this will be
A bit later, I think.
So 5. Oh, this will be so late for me, like 12 a.m.
Okay, so 5 p.m. CET.
So it will be so late for me.
Yeah, I can join from 5:30 because I'm at my job until 5:20.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do so.
Yeah, I can join later also.
I can send a lettuce meet for the proposed time that you have for Shevna, so we can choose
Mhm.
collectively. Or-
Okay. So
Okay.
let's synchronize around that after this call, and if we can have one or two things, I think we're ready to wrap it up. Um, okay. Good. We have 19 more minutes, and Manu, I saw that you had the capabilities approach also on the agenda. Do you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I started devoting. Well, it's just been one session. Not last Friday because I was ill, but the Friday before,
Mhm,
so 2 weeks ago,
mhm,
where I hold out and I put it on the calendar as well. I hold out like
mhm,
a 2 hour session where I basically just studying the book that I the book that inspired my interest in the capabilities approach because it's an economic formulation of the capabilities approach, and it's a way that I see can be applied into token engineering. Um,
mhm,
so I just put it out there. I mean, it's in the afternoon of Central Time, Mexico
mhm.
City time, so it's very very late for Europe time. So perhaps Letty and Yusefna won't be able to assist, but maybe Mert
Mhm.
and other people. I know Mert, Nick, maybe Andrea would be able to assist if they want. But it's pretty much just a space where I um, devote 2 hours of just going through the book, synthesizing it, and just seeing how I can take that and apply it into tokenized ecosystems. So I just wanted to. It's pretty much just a notice or something
Mhm.
that I wanted to share with everyone that this Friday it will be happening as well. I'll be
Mhm.
putting it in the calendar. But if you're in Europe time, it's going to be pretty late for you. You're probably not going to be able to make
Like,
it.
yeah.
Um,
But
and
but are you also sharing some research brief or insights that you have from session to session? That would be also super
yes,
helpful
yes. The
for
idea
people to
the idea
connect. Mhm.
the idea is that I do the I hold the research session on Fridays, and I discuss the
Mhm.
findings on like just briefly, maybe 5 minutes. I don't want to take too much of the call. I know there's a lot of things on our plate, but the idea is to have another call where we work on this initiative, the capabilities approach, and then what we find or
Yeah.
what I find, I
Mhm.
just do a briefing
Mhm.
here on the call. That's pretty much it. Yes.
Perfect. And for a bit of a background for others who might have missed or wasn't there yet. So Manu brought this capabilities approach pretty early on when we had the token engineering ethics or TE ethical principles that emerged from our first focus group. One of the ethical principles is enable informed participation. And there, basically, Manu brought this capabilities approaches, had also a presentation like Mert did, and it was really quite interesting and appealing that we said we definitely should go into that. I'm super interested as well, as much as I can. So having these updates in the working group calls would be great. I know it might not be every week an update, but also we can have every other week we can have updates on the token engineering ethics, participatory research. Then we could also go deeper into your insights, Manu, if there are more insights coming up there. But it would be great to connect this to token engineering ethics at the end, and also at some point really have share with the wider community about the insights, as you say. And if you need, again, like definitely have a thread definitely share your insights or current questions, also during after the sessions that you have, so that other people who might not be able to join or not every time, that they have a place to go and pick up the insights and also join the discussions that I'm sure will be great and will be coming up. Okay. That good? So,
Yes.
okay, perfect. And just one more update. I had mentioned to Marit, but we will get it then next week or do it in parallel. In the token engineering commons handbook, the Git book, we will have a page on token engineering ethical principles, and the 4 that we have covered or that we have uncovered already. Host multiple worldviews, beware of social engineering, navigate the dynamic, learn how to navigate dynamic landscapes, and then this enable informed participation. Those 4 that we have a few insights there, and also points to this current research or the also already current research that we're having, and point to the potential practice sessions that we can already have. That's another direction. Manu, if you see that you could come up with, it's hard to say best practice, but emerging practices or anything that is really practically helpful, that's the goal from this capabilities approach that will, put more behind this token engineering ethical principle of informed participation.
The basic idea that I have right now is since it deals with trying to come up with the value of freedom in terms of the value of freedom in terms of what you want to pursue and who you want to become. So sort of like the tools that you have available at your disposal, and like I guess that's very related to public goods in terms of imagine someone that doesn't have doesn't have a bike and needs to walk to the school like 4 hours every day. All of a sudden, if you give that person a bike, now it's just like a 20-minute, like a 30-minute ride to school, and so you save that person 3.5 hours, and that's something that you can graph, and so the Web3 application that would be we're building software, and how does the software that we're building, it's open source, yes, how does that increase the capabilities that we can do, and how can we put a tangible value on that, because that relates directly with the incentives and the token and maybe the praise. So I do see this branching out into the reward system working group, maybe like a praise V2 or V3 or something like that, where people contribute, and if their contribution is, for example, the commons configuration dashboard. I mean, people value a lot the contribution of programmers, but why? Because they build tools that are very useful for people and that enable people to reach new capabilities. So it's something that's sort of like organically, and that is the basic idea that I have right now. Like, okay, how can we start putting a value on the qualitative upgrades that we are enabling through the creation and development of software tools.
Cool. That reminds me of the bicycle for the mind. No, definitely, and I also see likely, the whole regenerative workflow research connection there. How it helps us to actually when we manage to configure our processes and tools such that they really help us progress instead of taking more time into managing the tools and the processes on top of everything else, could also see relations there. So super interesting. Please keep sharing. And yeah, we're almost coming to the end. As mentioned, the Consilience library creation, we need other sync points on Monday. I just wanted to get your attention or have your ideas about what you think about these the environment, how the environment also shapes our behavior or our actions, right? And if you can keep sharing, sorry, if you can. So basically, there is this other group I'm working with, and it's called, or this is called invisible economy, because many things that are qualitative are actually invisible in the economy, and only that what can be counted basically can be tokenized, and that's a fact. However, when it's about incentive design, which token engineering is about, we are not bound to only think in terms of what can be programmed into smart contracts, but obviously what is in our reach to shape behaviors. Number one, are we legitimate to do so? That's why people come into Omega, because all of this power actually throws up more questions of legitimacy. But as said, we're building these leaderboards and what have you, and all of this are proposals and only one winner. All of that is typically creating a competitive environment, and that's what we are used to from what we know. Like in school, you need to get best grades, you need to graduate top 3, what have you. So we have all these easy filtering systems, which result in competitive environments. And this group is all about, number one, saying that actual people love what they do, and people recognize that action in and of itself as a reward. And if that action can actually be a contribution to a commons, that's where magic happens. That would be this collaborative environment in which there's creativity, there's abundance. And because people do what they do because they enjoy it, and it primarily doesn't matter first if it has direct use immediately. But if it has, then basically that's where abundance happens, or that's where you have this positive sum game. I have been doing something I love anyways, and the community can actually make use of it. Great, right? So I just wanted to hear, 6 more minutes left, what you think about this. Do you have experience working like this already, maybe in other areas? And if you can actually add, now with respect to Consilience library, when you're working and contributing, whether that rings a bell or whether you see it differently. Yeah, if we could have a quick round of sharing, that would be great. Likely no one wants to go first, so if I just
I'll go.
Satori,
I'll
thank
go.
you.
Because this goes into what actually everybody from the energy flow first meeting's not here, but that's kind of what we're doing in the energy flow, just kind of initial research. It's about, generally the philosophy of like how energy, like physics flow, but using that for your own self. Like you only have so much energy and time to dedicate to like what we're talking about right now, to your research. And so picking stuff that is low hanging fruit that you're already kind of interested in and you're already naturally with my friend that I do the mandala research with, is like I said it that we recognize that we had this own personal itch of like something that we've been doing for like 6 years, and then like when we lined up, it was like, oh, we speak like at least in that aspect the same language. And we're like, oh hell yeah, okay. And like we don't have to explain anything to each other. We could just continue on like talking about like where we are in like this kind of like um field of like kind of study, like this weird kind of area of like Robert Anton Wilson and Douglas Rushkoff, and kind of where we are right now, like culturally in the digital landscape of like Siberia or whatever. So like I find that like interesting in how we connected there, but in the same respect for the energy flow one, is that we're kind of overlapping our studies. Jean proposed this philosophy of this French philosopher, and I just find it interesting, and I just started to read it and make notes, and it kind of lined up with something that I was already reading in my creative kind of like research for Imaginarium, and we're doing like this like spoken word mixtape. Actually, that came out of this reaction in this Steam Hive community of we had a poetry group, and we noticed that like after sometimes we called it dead post, and like something that we spent a lot of time and that we thought was really good, like didn't get the attention that we wanted. So then we started to do like these lists, and then we called them dead posts, and then we did our own dead posts like poems. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the spoken word poem like mixtape because I video edit. So anybody like bring their old like recycled poems and we'll do them. And that's all to say that like all of this is like connected to me, because it's like these things that we do already, but then like when we team up with people going to like this. And so in that poetry group, we all write poetry naturally, right? But when we share it, we kind of like, especially in the open mic night, we were competitive in a good way. Like I would always like bring a poem, and someone would say something. I'm like, oh god, I gotta write a new poem. And I would always like rip up the poem that I brought to the open mic and write a poem like on the spot to like respond.
On the spot.
Yeah, to respond back. And so like that kind of like magic, and I think even how we're doing it in the threads, like this asynchronous of like sharing our different things, and then when we have time, and this is something I learned working in Imaginarium. I actually did call this thread the dead spoken poetics, and in that one you could only talk in poetry. And so like over time, like I would tell my friend, like I would have to like, it was like at the end of the day or in the morning, like make sure that I had time and space to give it my full attention. Like not being distracted by like pinging of notifications, but to actually like read and to actually, respond in like, the felt experience of whatever that person was sharing poetically. And so like this became like this like practice that we did. But I think to the extent of what we're talking about here, of finding what we could give our time and energy to that will refill us, that gives us energy. And so it doesn't feel like a draining task. It feels energizing, and you feel even more energized to keep on digging down that like rabbit hole and keep on like scratching on that thing, and to see where those connections lie. And that's kind of what I feel my own personal like journey of the creative flow and the energy flow of this like overlapping of what we're doing. And real quickly to the energy creative flow, it's kind of like merging me, Streamer D, and Jolly, kind of like working together to do this kind of like mock or like prototype to the self-discovery Consilience library, which will lead to the self-discovery game. And so we're talking directly, and then we'll probably have more syncs to where we finally get something that we can share.
That's super cool. So I want to be able to join so that I can actually make visible the contribution that you're doing. I don't know. I think that's the main issue always, like kind of reporting, documenting that comes to short. But definitely, just rest assured that for some people, it's definitely visible how well this plays. For the ones who knew or who might have missed those sessions, but we have value flows of the Token and Ring Consilience library. And the most valuable aspects that we have found in this co-creative sessions is that this library is transdisciplinary through the curations, of course, but also the novelty aspect that the people who have found each other here are able to contribute is definitely going to make a difference. And that is also something that Unipov and others, also Bear, you have pointed out, what if this library would be a different experience, right? And the other part, the third one, is the connection. So it's quite important that we don't just put out things that are consumables, yet another list of reading, but actually help people to connect. And what Satori is bringing in is amazing. So thanks a lot. So I look forward to my own self-discovery game through the library. It really, connecting to yourself first, understanding what has been drawing you to token engineering. Why are you taking this path through the library, maybe even, and also who are you meeting on your path? I can imagine that this is going to become a really wonderful experience. So thanks a lot. And yeah, I definitely want to join in and make that part more visible. I know that some people have difficulties seeing, but for some others, it's definitely very visible. That is going to add real good spice into the Consilience library. Does anyone else want to add something? I mean, we can continue the conversations in the thread that I'm just going to open up right after this. But if you want to contribute, I would say, or continue, I would say the official working group session is over, but whoever wants to share some more about their contributions and or wanted contributions to the Token Engineering Consilience library, I'll be here, or I'm here. And yeah. Or if everyone has got enough, we could also call it a day or evening.
I just wanted to confirm that you'll be sending that link for that Monday meeting, or is it going to be an invite? Okay, perfect. And yeah, that I just have been really enjoying doing some of my own personal research for the library, because you kind of mentioned it does really make you connect with yourself, because it brings you almost back to where you were when you originally used whatever medium that was. So if it was a novel or a poem or something visual, it kind of brings you back to that place of where you were inspired or where you felt, energized to use that to grow. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity to definitely do a lot of self-reflection. And then also the antidote part is so great, because you can then, really put it down in words how you felt and how it's you in the process. So I just want to share that, just my personal experience so far.
Thank you, Andrea.
Maybe I can just share very shortly something. I've been reflecting a bit since last week's talk. I have a feeling that I need to kind of reverse myself a little which I think is also very much an omega thing to do, to kind of start at the end and find your way back somehow to where, I don't know how a story gets started. So I've been thinking a lot about like this kind of thing where I want to get in the long term. And I guess it would be more interesting from my point of view also how to kind of connect with this through the transdisciplinary art website. There I've been doing kind of since, I guess, 2015 when I finished the APAS. There I was really busy with like researching on desires. It's kind of an ongoing research that I keep doing because for me desire is this kind of unattainable thing, which then also kind of brings a certain drive into the work. So there I kind of see this question, and then like personally, like where I'm really like coming from, and where I also might kind of like find a moment to maybe talk about these things or make some kind of presentation. Yeah, like what I'm working on is actually coming out of like between 2008 and 2016. I've been doing like an underground workspace, kind of like running it kind of on our own funds. I've been always like producing a lot of things, doing things for the sake of doing art because like not finding any other place in society. Then kind of often running out in very precarious situations and having always difficulties of just finding ways to survive. And then slowly coming to an understanding of building this kind of commons. Like the artist commons was this kind of thing that I started in 2016, and now I kind of like let it have its second business cycle with other people taking over since 2020. Like I kind of always felt like starting up things and then seeing it kind of like have its making its own walk and then like letting it go so others can, like empowering and like getting out of the way kind of.
Yeah.
So that's a bit like my approach, but then often I found like in my personal experience, like as an artist, it's always a lot about precarity. And then with all this kind of new technologies of like Patreon or all this kind of systems that are there to support, it's very much on meritocracy. And in Belgium, there's still this kind of very nice welfare system for the arts, which provides you with some kind of like welfare on the days that you're not working and they don't bother you to find other jobs which are non-artistic. So the whole thing that I'm thinking about is like how Web3 can be interesting on the long term, that it can actually be a leverage between like getting persons actually doing the work that they love, getting a contract as an employee for it, so actually having all your social rights and building up for the days that you're old and you maybe don't find it so much fun to be a contemporary dancer, and to actually build something that actually sustains this and also includes a solidarity economy principle. So all these things coming out of co-ops and coming out of solidarity systems, not only for persons that are precarious, but just kind of finding something that deals with disparity at large. So something that actually rethinks this kind of divisions that normally happen within competition. That the winner takes all and all the rest kind of has
Yeah.
to scrabble for the scraps. So to find something that rethinks the system just by the practice of it. So that's a bit like where I'm coming in from, and I guess I need to think these things within a research format, which then kind of tokenizes somewhere these value flows, and that those value flows, which are not actually so much numerical, but that somehow this can connect to this kind of employee system, which then actually nurtures each other in some kind of way. That's like a concept that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So I don't see immediately how that relates to like the engineering aspect, but
Stick
I can
around.
see it relates to like social economic flows and these kind of yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been
No,
just
I
researching
think.
last week on like a cooperative game theory, which for me is kind of like really complicated because I don't know all these kind of equations, but yeah.
But
Those
that
are
would
really
be something you could be sharing, for example, like if you, again, if sharing your research or these insights, you can have a thread, make a thread, and just share there, and see also who else is chiming in. And the best encounter that you could have is another token engineer, data scientist, or systems modeler who's really interested in the same topics and get started with you. Like those type of encounters is also something we can
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, if people can steal the idea
nurture
of
here,
notes,
right?
it would be really cool.
Yeah. So, but then for that again, like you need to be sharing, and I think this is really a place where you can share and would also get insights. I just want to say it's the question. It's the question because right now we see in crypto a lot of the same, the financial quants, the princes of the universe, are
Yeah,
replaced by smart contracts, hackers, and unicorn token engineers.
yeah, it's terrible.
Who are now the princes of the universe because they're doing the programmable financial flows and so on. But the models are same. So obviously not something else is going to come out of it. But at the same time, we have a lot of currents that do question, economic space agency, Curve Labs. So, as we could start and connect the bigger community to those questions, and that type of thread, if you want to might become one of the liveliest, to be honest, because we kind of want to, okay, it's not capitalism, but it's not communism either, right? And is it being an employee, or you're creating value and others are building on that value? In my view, you're always an investor. It's an intellectual investor, and what you have with art, we have with science, and actually many other even care related areas and so on. So health, kind of current thinking,
Yeah, that's
our current
exactly.
mental models are totally screwed. Obviously, the incentives are screwed. Like you don't heal people, you just medicate them and so on. Or you don't, value health. You value how you can make money with treating symptoms and so on. And this then obviously leads to money making machinery, but not healthy people. Yeah, sorry, but I just wanted to say it's
Yeah, yeah,
definitely a rich place, and you're at the
yeah.
right
I
place.
feel like I'm very, very happy that I kind of was active with this motion DAO when it started because there I kind of encountered you as a consultant. Before all this, like years before, when like when Axeli was doing like the Robin Hood cooperative, that's how I
Hmm.
actually got into this. Like I think it was like 2014 or something. Then I was like already interested in these kind of forms, but it was like way too abstract to get my head around like the Economic Space
Yeah.
Agency, but that's kind of like where I
Hmm.
learned some stuff. Now I feel
There,
I'm
right?
coming back to what's like the core of like what I actually really like why I
Hmm.
prefer like working within the commons. Because what you say I find also very true. Like once it starts to be the idea of I'm gonna be a millionaire, like for me, that's not so interesting. Like, my father was like a consultant in a lot of big companies doing like help desks with like IBM as the only like a competitor in the time. So I grew up like seeing a lot of really rich people, with myself not being rich, and I know that these kind of environments for me are not like thriving. I mean, it's a lot about
Yeah.
like this competitive kind of predatorial mindsets, and that's where I feel also like in 2018 I had like a really bad burnout after starting the
Hmm.
Artist Commons, so then I really had to rethink. So now somewhere at the end of my 30s, I see like this kind of very slow way of working and like gently progressing and seeing ways of actually creating something that is not necessarily resilient, just proposes a complementary alternative. So it's not so interesting
Hmm.
for being like a tragedy of the commons, but it actually provides some kind of value, which is like a long-term project, which, of course, that's where I'm also interested in working with this kind of more official forms of like creating employment instead of freelancing and all this kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. But these are all open questions. right? I mean, the
Yeah, that's
Web3 currently it takes the direction of you're literally like a Uber driver collecting bounties. Like it's
I
worse
don't like
than the gig
Uber.
economy.
I'm more like taking a walk, like trying not to be so schizophrenic about it and just like walking, seeing what's going on. I know where I'm going. I don't know how long it will take me, but I have this
Yeah.
roadmap, and then I see here there's a lot of different approaches, so it's a very a fertile field to actually create ideas which nobody can come up with on by themselves. So that's, I guess, like the yeah, like I'm a bit skeptical of the Uber model.
Yes, totally. We shouldn't. I don't think it's an ideal we should go for. Anyways, so yeah, but no, yeah, again, like the best way is really to share, and if it is specific, and if you want to continue, and I know like the thing that you start with desire, and I haven't even dived into transdisciplinary art yet, but I know it's deep. Like your research is also amazing. So if you just share the type of what you say about desire, for example, we talk here a lot, or in token entering, a lot about motivation, intrinsic motivation, and so on. And during that research, also where I got hung up on is like need and need-based modeling. But if you dig and dig really deep, you can question every need or every desire, and it is actually a construct. And it's called mimetic desire. Like it's the things that you pick up and you think you need to want.
Yeah,
It's quite interesting.
you know John Kopchak?
No.
There's like what
It's
I've been
really
doing
funny that we didn't come up with this Richard Dawkins book yet. So this meme is so pernicious everywhere, and we are just trying to apply this natural sciences perspective. And we didn't explain the meme itself, that it comes from this biology also connected with genetics, right? It's so pernicious, and it's a meme which is like the shadow coming up in all these systems. And that would like take us back to the I am problem, which was like my first like grabbing here in this group, because I felt if we could solve this I am problem, there was nothing else to do. And just picking up about what you shared about this, just grabbing and digging deep into our desires and needs. So yeah, I am just connected the meme from Richard Dawkins and really to the I am problem, or this digging deep into our needs, which are really like
Please also share in the chat both of your stuff and let I want to read up John Kopchak.
Yeah, John Kopchak, like where I'm at with my research in transdisciplinary, I've been just kind of like you know, the talking cure, when you actually use language to kind of reprogram your subconscious. I've been just reading out loud for a couple of years. I just kind of made audiobooks. I'm not a how to say, I'm just somebody who's just reading out loud texts that then stay within its own memory. That's the stage that I'm at as a researcher. Like where I'm moving into now is like slowly flooding my mind with all these kind of places that I know, like make new stories and bring those things together. So that's where I can say, okay, read like John Kopchak, read My Desire. It's like a critique of Lacan, which is diametrically opposed to like Richard Dawkins and all these kind of things. But it's very interesting then to see what comes out of putting those things together, and like what could be a discourse that actually becomes a new critique, and then how does this relate to a like a codifiable system, like how to make some kind of code or translation to a code into this would be quite advanced. But I don't know,
Super
like I'm
interesting.
not at the stage that I'm like summarizing and doing like PhD work. Like
No, but start sharing. That's great. Start sharing. Super cool, super interesting. Okay. Durgadas, you just joined. Anything you wanted to share?
I don't know
We're
what the
about
current
to wrap
topic
up.
is, but um, Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of things across SoftGov and Gravity that seem like they're a bit overlapping in terms of the stuff we're doing. So I'm trying to bring
Yeah.
that up, during those meetings. And yeah, so
Cool.
that's about it.
About that, yeah, I think that will really remain with the people who are in multiple groups, etc. So it's up to us to keep the connections and make weave the threads. But what we had started with today, and I think that's going to be done until we finish the first prototype, that we will likely we will definitely focus on our energies, our attention, because I think all of us are just contributing a couple of hours at most. So that we focus our attention now on finishing the first prototype of the token engineering consilience library with those curations, getting in, and so on and so forth. But in parallel, also that we write up our findings with respect to token engineering ethical principles, those 4 that we came up with and so on, where you have also contributions. I would just ping you either in the chat or directly. I think there are some areas that you can should be definitely contributing about this write up on token engineering ethics. That's just from my side. But yeah, the following weeks will be likely determined by finishing up the first prototype, and then I would also like to have around what is the experience, like the funds that are provided versus the I feel like always losing a bit of freedom when I have to just as soon as I cannot say, okay, this takes as long as it takes, but kind of there's some expectations, roadmap, weekly progress, etc. That's kind of in Omega. I wanted, or let me put it that way, I wanted to have a place in all of this where we can think differently, really go deep. It's the philosophy, the wisdom of Web3 that we want to go into, and so on. From my perspective, it doesn't pay off at all to apply for funds in token engineering commons, then get a few funds, and then get into the pressure of delivering a project, and it doesn't suit at all with respect to what it is that we are after in Omega, like token engineering ethics, the deep questions, right? As Steph puts, when you would be going after the research, there's really a lot of ripe directions that need work on, but it is typical science and research work. You don't know, obviously, when it will finish when you start. So kind of, I'm in this middle of, personally, I'm in the middle of this a bit of a frustrated place where I see we're not doing anything differently. Like in academia, in a corporation, or any other place that I've been in, also not in a startup. So I don't see how we're changing the game. What is it that we're doing differently, that public goods are going to be funded differently if they're being literally funded the same way through proposal and votes and things and deadlines. At the same time, yes, we don't know any other way. So I kind of would rather love to have the freedom to come up with a new way rather than using the little time that I personally have to follow up on proposals and do project management. Others say herding cats and what have you. It's really tough to get stuff done if you're working with people who all of us are contributing just a few hours, right? So it's literally the worst place to get stuff done on time. It's the project manager's nightmare, if you will. That's why that's at the end now it comes out. That's my place of frustration at the moment. But I love what all of us are contributing, doing. It's really coming into Omega as always a fresh breath of air and a lot of food for thought. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for participating, and let's get to Token Engine Consilience Library, the prototype. How do you call it? To take off, and then let's see how we want to continue. But it would be quite interesting that through this creative and energy flow works. I'm hoping that we're going to come up with a new way of doing of this the art of token engineering. Okay, so that was also from from my chest. So if anyone else, if you have not anything to add, then we can also close this extended half hour that I think we're starting to add.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I had this note of it's like staring at me right now, and it's from the reading of the energy, dynamic energy budget. Anyways, it's the guy. I took a little pieces of the quote, but anyways, it's the removal of this anxiety, this lucid attitude, freedom of mind, and just like this removal of that anxiety of like the old way of doing the treadmill, the whatever term you want to target, the old legacy way or whatever, how we frame it, and then getting this elusive attitude of like where you find like your meaning, or like where you find your space, or like your clarity of where you fit in, and that's kind of like that freedom of mind aspect of trying to being in that space of this connection, and where we kind of ideally, I think, well, at least for myself, want to be at. And I think it comes into like cycles of, I think even too when I proposed this mode of the NFT, I forgot how I framed it, but anyways, like the asynchronistic of like what you do individually on your own of your own research, but then like when you come together and bring it in that circle of genius or circle of co-creativity.
Gift of wisdom, you called it.
And then and then like the third part is kind of like you digesting it, the metabolism, giving that space for like that emergence to happen, and then like that kind of like
Wonderful.
cycles.
Yeah. I want to make time to come to your sessions. This is literally, I'm picking up things just from the text that you share, and like all of you, it's really cool. So I think we'll find something there for sure. So
Monday.
Yeah, Mondays. Okay, talk soon, everyone, and I'll make a summary and see you on Monday, hopefully. Bye bye.